Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 2 of the anime series Kakegurui, or Compulsive Gambler. And I really got a kick out of this episode. Much as I had the first episode, I was feeling a little bit conflicted, but actually coming on and live streaming a review or recording one and then editing and uploading it after watching this episode, because I didn't want to get into this sort of pigeonholed review aesthetic of just reacting every week and saying, wow, that shit was crazy. Did you see that? Holy shit. This chick comes in this episode, Sumeragi, she wants to take, Jabami's fingernails as part of the gambling, this game of memory and everything. I didn't want to just come on every single episode and go, damn, that shit was crazy. Did you see that? Of course you saw that. That's why you're watching this video, because you saw it too. And not really having a whole hell of a lot to say about it apart from that. And it's one of those things where, in spite of having really enjoyed the episode, there was still an inkling that was, deep down within me to want to still find some avenue to talk about it, because it was an exciting episode. It's so far in its 2 episodes, it's been really exciting, really riveting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I don't want to be sort of passively watching it. I want to actually, commingle with you guys, have a chat with you guys in these videos and in the comments. And so I was like kind of racking my brain for a little while after watching it, trying to think about how I might approach talking about it that's a little bit more interesting than just, holy shit, did you see that? Oh my god, she was humiliated, all kind of stuff. And it was another level of conflict that I was feeling emotionally after watching it. That is kind of the direction I want to go talking about it in this episode. I don't want to recap everything. You've seen it too. You know what happened. I'll refer to things that happened as I'm talking about it. But the point of conflict that I had was, at least in the first episode, I was really finding myself easily rooting for Jabami, whom I was mistakenly referring to in my episode 1 live streamed, first impressions video. I was calling her Jambi, Mecha Leka Hi, Mecha Hi Ni Ho, and all of that. For those who got that reference, bonus points to you. So like I was rooting for her. It was very much, I think I had attributed it to being very similar to Shokugeki no Soma, where, you're kind of rooting for Somo Yukihira. He's the hero of the show. He's putting everyone who's more elite and pompous and bombastic, he's putting them all in their place, teaching them a lesson around every turn, per every conflict he has with all these other characters. And that kind of was the vibe I was getting with Jabami in this series. I thought she was going to kind of be Soma Yukihira-ish. Like I'd be able to root for her, and I'm seeing her wipe the floor with these other more bombastic, pompous, elitist of the elite, children in this academy. And then by the end of this episode, really peppered through the beginning of it, having called back on Satome, to see just how humiliated she has become and how much now indebted she is by the end of the episode, I really felt bad for her. She was a right bitch in episode 1, trying to take Jabami, the new girl, to task, and then she was open-facedly humiliated in front of everyone. Now she is Amike, a dog, the female equivalent of the dog that, our sort of narrator, Ryota Suzui, was in the first episode. And I found myself really feeling sympathetic toward her. I hated her in the first episode. Now I'm feeling sympathetic toward her. And then when we have this whole, dynamic going on with Jabami and this Sumeragi girl, who has this fingernail fetish. She's, painting this glorious picture of ripping the fingernails off of somebody, and how, even the barest movement of touching and trying to feel your way around and everything could propel blood out of, the open wounds and everything. And it's sickening and twisted and disgusting. And a lot of that fell on the shoulders of Jabami, who's describing it as well, because of course you have this game of memory, which is like upwards of 100+ cards, and you have to remember exactly where all of the placements are so you can pick the same identical card time again. A regular game of like that board game memory, where you just have to remember faces and where these little cartoon-esque characters are, is a little taxing. Never mind having 2 full decks of cards spread out across the table, trying to memorize all of that stuff. I don't care if they were marked. I don't care if, Sumeragi, because of her family and she had the hand in designing them, I don't care how marked they were with this sort of color forms. Like if you go back to the 1980s Transformers where you hold your thumb over it and it changes colors, or it reveals whether they're an Autobot or a Decepticon, that kind of thing. I don't care how they were marked. If you've ever looked at the back of a playing card, it's so nondescript. It has an artistic flair to it, but like, I wouldn't make head nor tail of that. Let alone remembering where 100+ cards, where every single duplicate is, in the time allotted. I mean, it's absolutely gobsmacking to me that. But what was really the point of conflict in that matchup? Of course, Jabami loses, and we've already seen this happen before in the first episode. It's not that great of a revelation that she might not always win the day. Of course, it's the second challenge, much as it was in the first episode, that really matters, because she feels wronged. She knew what was going on. She suspected something was going on, and she still lost. So how did that happen was her chief concern. But this is where we see the tide turn, where she wipes the floor with Sumeragi, and at first I'm championing her, but then as she's becoming that much more sadistic, you even see it on the face of Ryota Suzui, who has been like, her cheerleader and only friend. It's through her kindness and generosity that he's even not indebted and humiliated as now she has left Satomi in the first episode, and where we found him at the start of that episode. He has prospered, but now he's come across that revelation that, holy shit, Shamami's about just as psychotic as all the rest of the bitches and guys, presumably, in this school. And suddenly I was like, ooh, I don't know if I can actually root for her now. She's just as bad. She's just as psychotic and sadistic. I was so conflicted over that. I was like, yes, beat that bitch. Beat Sumeragi, this nail fetish psycho. And then when you realize, oh shit, Jabami's actually really just a psycho, I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. This isn't quite Soma Yukihira all over again, like I had first alluded to. So that was a point of conflict. I like the gray areas. I talked about this, talking about Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans. I liked the gray area where you didn't really always know who to root for. And that's kind of the same thing going on here. None of these characters, not one of them, is complete out and out like a protagonist. They're all psycho. They're all discombobulated. There's something wrong with all of them. And including Jabami, for all of her heart and her good-naturedness and helping Ryota and everything in the first episode. It's just like, now we see how sadistic she can truly be, and I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg from what I've been told in the comments on my episode 1 First Impressions video. And this has garnered the attention of the student council, or whatever it is, who are all these crazy, elitist of the elite sons and daughters. There's at least one guy, but most of them are chicks of varying ages, and they all look like, completely hyperbolic character designs that, would be befitting of like an anime rogues gallery or something like that. And so each and every one of them now is going to be really wanting to get after Jabami and try to put her in her place, and because she sort of discounted one of their own. Now granted, as we find, Sumeragi paid her way in, so they really couldn't care less. But now we're talking about the rest of the crew who are there from their gambling achievements and such, because of their elite status. And it's interesting to learn that the sort of president of this whole group, this whole little movement, is the one who implanted that idea of humiliation, of making the guys and the girls who are indebted and owe money, making examples of them and exploiting them and being derogatory toward them. So it's interesting. There is still that flair of, okay, I will be kind of rooting for Jabami to take them all down, to put them all in their place, to win over all of them. But she's potentially going to get just as sadistic and despicable too. I mean, they're like orgasming every time they win. It's just like the food gasms in Shokugeki no Soma, but it's a little more twisted. You know, I'm not a proponent for, you know, gambling and such like that. I do not condone it or partake in it, but it's definitely an interesting, dramatic aspect to this, I guess. You know, it's suspenseful, it's exciting, and the characters all have a sexiness to them, but they're all sadistic and psycho too. So, you know, and that includes whom I thought I could root for out and out, you know, almost blindly, Jabami. It's not so cut and dry as all that. So it was an enjoyable second episode. I can tell already I'm going to love this series as a whole, but I just have a feeling, much like it was Attack on Titan Season 2, every episode I'm going to be like, what the fuck did I just see? And so yeah, hopefully you'll be with me along the way. If I decide to keep up episodic reviews, I'm still not decided fully on that, whether or not I'm going to, and whether or not I'm going to continue doing a sort of live stream, you know, reaction, or if I'm going to do edited reviews or whatever like that, pre-recorded, edited, you know, which is what I'm more used to. Still kind of figuring out the live streaming thing. The signal is somewhat poor and all of that kind of stuff. But let me know in the comments what you thought of episode 2 of Kakegurui or Compulsive Gambler, if you've seen it as well. If you have that point of conflict as well, or if that's just, you know, an added flavor to why you're excited about it, because you know how sadistic and twisted Jabami's going to be or become. If you're familiar with the source material, of course, post no spoilers below for those of us like myself who are not familiar with the source material at all. But, you know, hints and whispers of things to come potentially are always welcome as well, as long as it's not too spoilery. And yeah, love to hear from you. Otherwise, it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.